What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here. So in this video, it's a very exciting day because we get to see the Final Shape artifact preview from the TWAB today, or the TWID, and I'm just going to go through it all. And I do just want to shout out real quick, I've got starter builds for each character for the base prismatic kit, and I haven't put them together yet. Like, the builds are ready, but I was waiting for this artifact preview to come out so that I can make them even better. So I'll be releasing those starting tomorrow, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss those. But for now, let's just go over the artifact. So we've got Anti-Barrier Pulse Rifle. This is a shock to no one because Pulse Rifles are getting massive buffs in Final Shape, and Outbreak Perfected is going to be super good with this. It's going to be so awesome. Revision Zero and Graviton Lance are already really good. They're not getting the full extent of the buff that's coming. They're negated on the one buff, but they are still getting a slight buff. And then just other pulse rifles are going to be in a lot better shape. We have Blast Furnace from Onslaught, the Brave weapon. So anyways, pulse rifles are going to be really good in the new sandbox. And one thing I want to point out, that all these weapons that we talk about in this first column, they're always overcharged when that modifier is active. So if you have Anti-Barrier Pulse Rifle, you're going to get a 25% damage bonus when the modifier is active, even if it doesn't match the surge of the activity. So again, that goes for all these weapons that we're talking about. But yeah, Anti-Barrier Pulse Rifle is going to be really good, especially if you have Disruption Break, because when you break an Anti-Barrier shield, you'll deal 50% more kinetic damage. So that's really nice with things like Izanagi's Burden or Wither Horde or whatever. So I just wanted to point that out as well, if you happen to have one of those. I don't know if I kept my Geon 7 around, but I know it used to have that. Unstoppable Sidearm. Aiming down sights. Anyways, we know how Unstoppable works. This is really awesome because sidearms are getting a really big buff as well. There's some exotic sidearms I'm really excited to use. And then the rocket sidearms were awesome for anti-barrier, like Indebted Kindness. And now this season we're going to have Unstoppable with that. And we get a new solar one and a new strand one. And I've seen the strand perks and they're really strong. So yeah, I'm going to be rocking Unstoppable Sidearm a lot. Unstoppable Scout Rifle, I won't be rocking near as much. Polaris Lance is probably one of the only good scout rifles for PvE, and it more than had its time in the sun these last 6 months with Season of the Wish. So yeah, I'm probably not using Unstoppable Scout Rifle, but that's your other Unstoppable option if you want a more long-range one than a sidearm. Overload Hand Cannon. In the past, I've talked about Overload Hand Cannon and how payload perks are really important. So I have kept around this 7 Seraph Officer Revolver for a long time. It's actually got Underdog, which is going away, but it's got timed payload. So this essentially counts as 2 hits. So normally you take 4 shots to stun an Overload champion, but anything with a payload perk, it's going to count as two hits. So we'll only take 2 shots. And then timed payload's really nice. So is explosive payload, but this is really nice because it's a 180. Where Sunshot's like a 150, and then Fatebringer with explosive payload is a 140. So they just don't quite shoot as fast as this. But anyways, get one with timed payload or explosive payload if you can. I don't know where my Midnight Coup is with it. Yeah, explosive payload. So try to get like a Midnight Coup or something, because that's really going to help against Overload champions. Because you know how annoying it can be to land 4 shots with a hand cannon on them when they're blinking around and all that stuff. So get one with a payload perk and you'll be able to do it in 2. Unless they change that in Final Shape, we'll see. Anti-barrier submachine gun. So we haven't had that since Beyond Light, I feel like. I remember using the old school Ikelos SMG a lot. But we do have 2 with kinetic tremors, Adjudicator and Showrunner. And they might introduce more in Final Shape. But these will be really good for anti-barrier SMG. And then Osteostriga, it is getting nerfed, but it could be nice as well. So yeah, you got some options. But again, for me, that anti-barrier I'm probably going to be going with is Pulse Rifle, because they're getting a huge buff, where SMGs are pretty weak still, and auto rifles kind of just do what they do, but at a greater range. So you can run it if you want though, but that's what those 5 are. And now we go to column 2. So we've got Logic Reductor, weapons with the Radial Area Transposer Origin perk, deal increased damage to Vex, extends the duration of the Radial Area pools created. So I'm guessing this is the one from the first episode that we ever have, which is basically the new season. but it's the Echoes episode. It's all based around the Vex, so that's probably the weapons that are dropping from there will get this. And it sounds like they create radial area pools, so that's cool. And then they'll just deal increased damage to the Vex. So just a nice little trait, or mod, whatever. Then Overcharged Armory. So Dealer's Choice is like the card-based one with like diamonds, clubs, spades, all that. So that's like the final shape weapons. So they will be overcharged if you have this on. Radial Area Transposer is the episode one. I'm guessing this is the raid one, Collective Purpose, and then Sundering is from Warlord's Ruin. So if you're running this artifact mod, they'll be overcharged. Again, even if they don't, like even if it wasn't any of these 5 and it didn't match the Surge, you can still get overcharged with this. So say it was like Strand and Solar Surge and you had like a Void thing that wasn't a pulse rifle, a Void auto rifle say, but it did have this, then it will still be overcharged. So that's how that works. Authorized mod, Elemental Charge. The energy cost of Elemental Charge mods are significantly reduced. So that's probably going to go from 3 to 1. So these are Elemental Charge. Basically, when you get a pickup, these are really good with Ionic Traces just because of how often you can create Ionic Traces. And they are kind of reworking like how shards drop. And there's some more stuff in the artifact where maybe we can make breaches or something, I think. But anyways, this will probably go from 3 to 1. So that's nice depending on your build. Saint's Inspiration. Rounds loaded by the Cast No Shadows Origin perk can overflow the magazine. So we don't know what that's from, but it can overflow the magazine. Winning Hand, while using the Dealer's Choice Origin trait, which again are like the final shape weapons, I believe. Combatant Precision Final Blows or rapidly defeating targets cause the target to explode, dealing solar damage to nearby enemies. So just get like a free explosion if you're using a Dealer's Choice Origin trait. And then having several of these equipped increases the effect of the explosion. So that's pretty cool. And then the solar damage it does is probably Scorch. So kind of a free way to get Scorch on certain weapons. It could be really good. Never mind. Column 3, Elemental Siphon. Rapid final blows with a kinetic weapon or a weapon matching your equipped super create an elemental pickup that matches your equipped super. So this is what I was talking about with the elemental pickup. So rapid final blows with a kinetic. So we're getting like Kavostov, and even that new Stasis Trace Rifle will probably work with this. And that's like an add clear weapon and it's kinetic. So then you'll be able to make elemental pickups, and then you'll be able to get elemental charge if you're running that. So this could actually be really, really strong. I'm really looking forward to this. And I previewed in my meta weapons video, which actually went up earlier today. I think Bad Juju is going to be a beast. That's another one that I didn't even mention with the pulse rifle. Bad Juju already slaps in like anything below master level content. So anything below that. And now with the pulse rifle buff, it could even be really good in like GMs. We'll just have to wait and see. But now it's also going to be able to make elemental pickups. And it can deal double damage at 5 stacks of String of Curses. And yeah, I just think it's going to be excellent this season. So very excited for that. We'll be able to make elemental pickups that match our super. So very cool. Overload Sword. I love this. I used to rock Overload Sword all the time when it was on the artifact. I'm a big sword guy. I like playing aggressive. So this is your other Overload one. So we only had Overload Hand Cannon. Overload Sword should be pretty good. I think it's in the past it was just like 2 light attacks, and then yeah, you can just like spin to win if you're running Falling Guillotine or whatever. So this is going to be really nice. And there's this Argent Blade, which we'll get to in a second. Creeping Chill. Stasis weapon final blows against slowed or frozen targets releases a burst that slows. So could be decent. Where I think this will be really good is on something like Wicked Implement. We already have Unstoppable Scout, and then it's gonna, and it slows like when you hit a crit or like a few crits, however that works. So on like beefier targets, you'll be able to slow or freeze it, and then it's gonna make a burst that slows. So you could like lay into like a major, and then it's gonna do a slowing burst on a bunch of like red bars beside it, for instance. So that's very, very cool. And it's called Creeping Chill, and like Creeping Attrition is the Wicked Implement one, I think. So yeah, I could see it being really good on Wicked Implement and other stasis weapons as well. Chill clip weapons also, because they already slow or freeze targets. So this with a chill clip weapon is going to be awesome. And again, in those videos I'm previewing tomorrow, I was planning on using some chill clip weapons, so this is going to make it even better. Like, seriously, I'm so pumped for the builds that are coming out tomorrow. Press the advantage. Breaking a combatant's shield grants increased weapon stability, handling, and reload speed. Swords gain increased guard resistance. Pretty useless unless there's a shit ton of shields. Can't see us using this one too much. Threaded Blast. Destroying a tangle with a strand weapon creates a larger, more damaging explosion. So this one really comes down to how big and how much damage. Because you have to be running a strand weapon and making a tangle. So you kind of have to be built into that. But if you are, and it's worth it, then this could be really strong. So that's one of those ones. It just depends on how big the buffs are. Counter energy. When you or a member of your fire team stuns a champion, you gain energy for your least charged ability. We don't know like how much energy, but that's going to be really nice because these prismatic builds are basically all built around ability spam, as I'm going to showcase tomorrow in like my preview build. So yeah, this is just going to be really nice because as you stun champions, you'll just get more energy. Blade stamina, rapidly defeating combatants with a sword, refunds some ammo. So yeah, we've got overload sword, and then yeah, now we'll be able to get some ammo back. So that could be really, really nice depending on the refund, and obviously your build. If you're running a sword, that'll be good. Void hegemony. While you have a void or prismatic subclass equipped, defeating weakened targets provides a small overshield. So they have to be weakened. So this one is very build based. I'm not sure how many sources of weaken we really have for prismatic, at least off the bat. But yeah, depending on your build, this could be very strong. And on void builds, this could be really good. Like on Controverse Hold with Echo of Undermining, you're defeating a lot of weakened targets, and then you'll just be getting an overshield. So on void, it could be really good. I'm not so sure how good it's going to be on prismatic, though. I'll have to wait and see and play with prismatic a little bit more, see what I can cook up. Radiant Orbs. While you have a solar or prismatic subclass equipped, picking up an orb of power makes you radiant. Radiant's obviously extremely strong. And then prismatic, I'm going to be rocking prismatic. So this basically just seems like a no-brainer if you're running prismatic. So very, very strong. Radiant's 25% damage bonus. You'll have that up most of the time if you're built around making orbs, which is pretty easy. Galvanic Armor. While you have an arc or prismatic subclass equipped, incoming damage from combatants is reduced while amplified. So again, this one depends on your build, but I do have one prismatic build coming out that you'll be amplified a lot, and then you just get incoming damage resistance. It's probably something like 25%, which when stacked with like woven mail and other things, like this could actually be really strong. And just, I'm so pumped for the Titan build. I can't wait for you guys to see it. I've been waiting. Anyway, like I said, just subscribe so you don't miss it, because that Titan build is going to go so hard. I'm actually starting the final shape on Titan because I'm so excited to play that build with Prismatic. Prismatic Transfer. When you cast your super, each member of your fire team with a super type different than yours gains a bonus to weapon damage. So this could be really good in like the raid. I know. Anyway, there's lots of good supers. Like you could have a Curious Thunder Crash and like a Strand Warlock, and then say a Well of Radiance or whatever. And a Tether. Like you realistically could have a team made up of all different supers, and then if you all cast that at like the start of a damage phase, if it stacks, which is a good possibility it would, because the Heart of the Flame or whatever one from this season where you cast your solar super, it would stack depending how many allies were around you. So if this stacks, and depending on like the damage rotation and all that, this could be very, very strong. But again, very situationally dependent on this one. And better in a 6-man fire team. In a 3-man fire team, again, assuming it stacks, it might not be as good. But yeah, we'll have to see how big the weapon damage bonus is. But this one's very interesting. It's got potential. Argent Blade. While you have armor charge, dealing damage with a sword consumes an armor charge and empowers your sword for a short time, granting it bonus damage and energy charge rate. So we had Argent Ordnance this season, which was the rocket one, and that was a 15% stacking damage bonus. So it stacked with everything, but it used your armor charge. What was good about it was with things like reconstruction, like it would go away when you reloaded, but we had ways to get around reloading, so you could kind of double dip on your armor charge. So we'll have to see what the short time is, because if it can last for like a decent amount of time, and you can like find a way to keep your orbs up, this could just be a free 15% damage bonus. And we already have Falling Guillotine, which can roll like Frenzy and Bait and Switch, plus Void Surges. And then this should stack on top of everything, like Radiant, everything, because Argent Ordnance did. So I'm guessing this is a 15% stackable damage buff. Again, this is just speculation. I don't know what it actually is, but that could be really, really strong, especially with like Overload Sword, Blade Stamina. I'm loving the sword stuff. And it sort of makes sense why they nerfed Lament, because they didn't want it to be OP with Argent Blade probably. But, you know, I love Lament, so I'm still a little bitter about it. Expanding Abyss, Void sources deal increased damage to weakened targets. So this is very interesting. Something like a Briarbind's Warlock can spread a shitload of weaken. And then Void sources, so Nova Bomb's getting a buff. And again, I talked about Controverse Hold. That can weaken a lot of targets too. And with the Nova Bomb buff, and it just says Void sources. So I'm assuming Edge Transit, like weapon damage, that's going to be huge. So this could be really, really big for the raid. And then, yeah, anyways, this one's very interesting. Edge Transit is about to go crazy. Get you a Cascade Point Bait and Switch Edge Transit before it's too late. Because, yeah, we don't know how much increased damage to weakened targets, but weakened targets are already 15% debuff. And now it's going to be taking increased damage from all Void sources, I assume. So very, very cool, that one. Shield Crush, while you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. While you have Amplified or Radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. So the Titan build benefits from both sides of this. So yeah, I am absolutely thrilled for the Titan build. This Shield Crush is going to go so hard with it. I'm probably going to release a Titan build for, I don't know. But anyways, keep an eye out for this Titan build to start with Prismatic, because it's going to be unreal. But basically, you'll be able to get Woven Mail and Radiant and Amplified. And yeah, your grenade will be charging faster. Your melee will be charging faster. It's going to be crazy. So this one is going to be really, really good. And the amount of DR you're going to have between Galvanic Armor and Woven Mail and the different sandbox changes that they made in the last couple of weeks, it's going to be unreal. Sorry, I'm rambling. We'll get to the last one here. Transference, gain increased grenade and melee damage while Transcendent. So the Transcendent grenades already look like really good. And then you get like really fast cooldowns when you're in Transcendent mode. And then now you're going to be doing increased damage while in Transcendence. So if your build is based around like, light and dark damage, then you can get Transcendent a lot. I have a build in mind, but I'm not running it off the bat because we don't have the right fragments at the start. But there's a build that I have in mind that's going to have like crazy Transcendent uptime. So this is going to be really, really nice with it. And then it says Weapon Final Blows while Transcendent refund light and dark energy after Transcendence ends. So you're mostly just chucking out abilities while you're Transcendent, but if you can mix in some Weapon Final Blows, you'll actually get a refund of light and dark energy after. So that's just going to help your uptime of Transcendent. So again, it really just depends how you build into it, but like I said, this build that I have in mind, when I get the right pieces, this is going to be perfect for it. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of theory crafting, but again, I'm not going to make videos till it's in our hands other than these preview ones, because that's what I know we're actually getting to start with Prismatic. But once we unlock all the aspects, fragments, like the whole kit, like this one is going to go super hard with that Transcendent build. And yeah, there's just, overall, I think this is a really fun artifact. I don't think, like on the surface, again, we don't know how strong some of these things are. So I may eat my words. But like last season when we saw the artifact, I said this was the strongest artifact we've ever had. And I think 6 months on, after playing with it, we all can agree that it was. You could get Radiant just from like landing some precision hits, not even final blows. And then like with how good Polaris Lance was and all that stuff. This season's artifact was crazy. This one I think is a little more dialed down, but it's also, it's not so like centered on solar. It benefits many different parts of the game, which I prefer because I was just getting so sick of solar by the end of last season. So I'm very excited for this artifact. And like I said, I have some builds that are going to directly benefit from this. And I'm glad to see Void back in it. Like, I might break out Controverse Hold. Like, for the first bit, I'm going to be on nothing but Prismatic and cranking out Prismatic builds and all that. But I will circle back to a couple of my favorite Void Warlock builds for sure. And I'm very excited to try Second Chance on Titan, because Shield Throw is getting a buff. And yeah, I haven't got to play with much Void Titan, and Second Chance will be fun. So anyways, again, I'm rambling. If you're still here, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down of the artifact down in the comments. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the final shape. Take care.